Hello everyone and welcome back to Phasmophobia. The Tier 2 equipment can be unlocked as you level up in the game, and most of this equipment is just a slight improvement from the Tier 1. As such, I highly recommend watching my video on the Tier 1 equipment before watching this, especially if you have questions about the equipment's general use or if you have questions about in-game mechanics. Instead of the DOTS pen given at Tier 1, we now have a small projector that can be placed on surfaces to cover a larger area, and the light it emits is much brighter. This can also be used as a light source, especially since it will still work if you are playing on a custom setting that has flashlights disabled, unlike the Tier 1 pen. The Tier 2 EMF shows a much more accurate reading when the ghost interacts with something. When powered on, the device will illuminate one blue light. EMF level 1 means no ghost activity has been detected. When a ghost does an interaction such as a door touch, toggling a light switch, knocking on a surface, etc., the green light will also illuminate and a beeping noise will emit, indicating an EMF level 2. When the ghost throws an object, the yellow light will show to indicate EMF level 3. When the ghost does an event, an EMF level 4 will be given off wherever the ghost event started. EMF level 5 will show all of the lights up to the red illuminated, and this will only occur outside of a hunt or event if you have a ghost that gives off EMF 5 as evidence. EMF 5 will be given off of an interaction that would have given off an EMF 2 or 3 otherwise, so you cannot get EMF 5 from ghost events. If you see EMF 5 during an event or a hunt, but your EMF is just glitching wildly, this is not actually EMF 5, and it is just the ghost disrupting your electronics. The Tier 2 ghostwriting book is just a better version of Tier 1, with a higher chance to be interacted with and a greater interaction range. The ghost needs to be within 4 meters of the book to write in it, and you can see the range when you place it. The book must be placed instead of thrown down in order to be written in. The Tier 2 motion sensor works exactly the same as the Tier 1, but has a few quality of life improvements. First, the range at which the sensor will detect movement has been increased, making it easier to sense the ghost in larger areas. Second, you can make the motion sensor detect movement from 2 different branches by clicking on it while it is placed. This gives you more area you can cover, but note that it will only be set off when the ghost goes through the red lines. The area in between them is not covered, so you yourself can stand in the middle of the lines and wait for the motion sensor to go off once. If there isn't a second beep, this could mean the ghost is inside the cone with you, which is a great time to try getting spirit box evidence. Additionally, it will make an audible beep in the map now when either the ghost or a player walks through it, in addition to making a beep from the screens in the van. If you click on the motion sensor again while it is placed, it will shut off entirely. The Tier 2 spirit box works very similarly to the Tier 1, but has a cleaner look and a higher chance of getting a response. For this one, you need to be within 4 meters of the ghost with the lights turned off to have a chance to get a response. If you're using push-to-talk, voice activation, or voice toggle options, you will see the microphone symbol in the top left corner illuminate if it is detecting your voice. If your question was recognized, but the ghost did not respond, the X in the bottom right corner will illuminate. If you get a response, the ghost symbol in the bottom right will illuminate and you will hear an audible response. If you do not have a mic or are having troubles with the game recognizing your voice, you can switch over to text voice recognition. Then, when you right-click to turn on your spirit box, it will automatically show a couple of questions you can click on to try and get a response. The Tier 2 thermometer is an electronic version that is supposed to be more accurate and easier to use than the Tier 1, but it's honestly not very good. In order to see the current temp in a room, you have to press and hold your primary use button until the 5 bars are filled. The room temp will then be displayed, but it'll immediately disappear after you release the button. Instead of showing an accurate temp reading of the room, it will also only give you a plus or minus 3 degree range, making its accuracy very questionable. As always, when the ghost roams around the map, it will begin to cool down the area that it is in. However, this can be a slow process and it does take time for the ghost to fully cool down a room. As such, it can be very hard to get freezing temps, especially if the ghost is roaming or changing favorite rooms a lot. Because of this, I recommend checking temps often if you're still trying to collect evidence. Also, as a warning, sometimes the cold spot can get left behind by the ghost if it changes favorite rooms. For whatever reason, you can see a lot of activity in one area and still end up finding cold spots and freezing temps in a completely separate area. The Tier 2 salt has exactly the same use as the Tier 1, but it can now be placed 3 times, and the mounds are now long lines. This makes it perfect for putting across doorways and larger areas to help increase the chance of getting the ghost to step through it. The Tier 2 UV light is now electronic, and it will charge fingerprints and footprints to keep them visible for photos in 5 seconds instead of 10. It also technically has a longer range at which it will illuminate fingerprints, but it does not work as well at lighting areas as the Tier 1 UV light does. Also, be warned that this device will not work if you're playing on a custom difficulty with flashlights disabled. The Tier 2 video camera has better quality than the Tier 1, making it easier to see both dots and ghost orbs. It no longer has the green night vision and instead offers a clearer grayscale night vision. This version, however, has the same chance to be thrown by the ghost as the Tier 1 if it is not placed on a tripod. The Tier 2 tripod does have the same chance of being knocked over as the Tier 1 tripod, but it now offers rotation control when it is placed with a camera on top of it. This enables you to control the direction the camera is facing in the van, making it easier to check an entire room for both ghost orbs or dots as needed. The Tier 2 Crucifix can now prevent 2 separate hunts apiece and has a 4-meter range instead of 3. You can take 2 burned crucifix photos off of one crucifix if you snap a photo after each time it burns. Generally, you can get an interaction photo off of the crucifix's burning, but at the time of making this video, it is bugged. The Tier 2 Firelight is actually a candelabra with 3 different candles on it, but it appears that it still only counts as overall 1 candle, i.e. the ghost cannot blow the individual candles out at different times, and only all 3 of them will get blown out together. These ones last for 5 minutes in total, and it will reduce the amount of sanity drain from being in the map by 50% if you are either holding it, or if you place it on the ground and are standing within 2 meters of it. The Tier 2 igniter is just a simple lighter, and each one can last for 5 minutes of use. You can see the fuel inside of it so you'll know when it is running low. This can be blown out by ghosts too, but it does not prevent any sanity drain while you are holding it. The Tier 2 headset is no longer a camera, and instead can be put on to give players some extra light. While it is low intensity, it is super useful for players who want to open up an extra inventory space by not using a flashlight. Be careful using this while at hunting range though, as you do have to press and hold your special keybind to turn it on and off. This extra amount of time to get it off can spell disaster in some situations. Also, if you are carrying a regular flashlight in your inactive inventory, pressing the button to turn off the headset will also turn on or off your normal flashlight. Additionally, if you're playing a custom difficulty with flashlights disabled, this device will become useless. The Tier 2 Incense has the same basic functionality as the Tier 1, where it can be used to prevent hunts, or it can be used during hunts to protect you for a short amount of time. However, this one will slow down the ghost in the hunt for the 5 seconds it is also being repelled from you. Now, in the description of the Incense in the game, it says its duration lasts for 6 seconds. This number only applies to the burning effect of the smudge stick, and not the amount of time the ghost will be repelled for. An important mechanic to know for all tiers of the Incense is when the timer for the hunt prevention starts. Smudging the ghost while it is nearby will start a timer that will prevent most ghost types from hunting for 90 seconds, and this timer starts immediately when you smudge the ghost. This is true whether you smudge the ghost outside of or during a hunt. The Tier 2 Paramic now has a display screen so you can see when noises are being picked up, and it will now pick up sounds from 30 meters away instead of 20, making it relatively easier to use than the Tier 1. With this greater range, it makes it extremely useful on large maps to listen for ghost hunting noises from a safer distance. However, just like the Tier 1, it will still pick up on non-paranormal sounds such as ambient noise, other electronics, and other players if you're on multiplayer. It is also super sensitive to noises you make, like walking on creaky stairs, closing doors, and toggling light switches, so only try to pay attention to the spikes that could not have been caused by any of these other things. In order to get the detect a noise with the Parabolic Microphone objective, you do have to get a whisper on the device. You can get whispers both during hunts and outside of them, but obviously it can be very risky to try and get them during the hunt. Noises made by the ghost during hunts, events, or when the ghost is singing with the music box do not count as a paranormal sound for whatever reason. Additionally, when the ghost sings with the music box, this does not give a signal on the paramic at all. The Tier 2 photo camera has a nice display screen, making it easier to aim photos to get 3 stars. It also has a faster recharge time, making it easier to take photos in quick succession. However, be warned, this one, unlike the Tier 1 camera, is now an electronic, so the ghost will be able to find you during hunts when nearby if you're holding this one in your active inventory slot. The only difference between the Tier 1 and Tier 2 Sanity Medications is that it will only take 20 seconds instead of 30 to see the full sanity restoration. The amount of sanity restored will still be dependent on what difficulty you are playing on. With a Tier 2 sound sensor, you now have 3 different ranges to pick up from instead of just 2. When you click the button next to each sound sensor in the van, you can decide between 5, 10, or 15 meters. This makes it much more useful on large maps, since you can keep track of ghost activity when in the van. On multiplayer, you can also use it to listen to the ghost hunting if you have other team members in the map. Just keep in mind you will also hear sounds from your teammates as well. Again, if you have any questions on how to use these items, such as what buttons to press to turn them on or how to place them, please refer back to my Tier 1 guide video, which I have linked down in the description below. Also, keep an eye out for any pinned comments on this video in case anything changes with the information provided. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining, and I hope you found this guide useful. If you did, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe for future content if you haven't done so already. Happy hunting out there!